Insperity presents the Small Business Advocate Show with Jim Blasingame, brought to you by FedEx, CareerBuilder.com, and Palo Alto Software. This is a copyrighted production of Small Business Network, Inc., all rights reserved.
We're back. It's 12 after the hour. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. My pleasure to continue to be with you. I'm Jim Blasingame, and you're listening to the Small Business Advocate Show, and I'm glad you're here. I'm glad Beverly Inman-Ebel is here, too. I don't know what we'd do without her. She's been a member of our Brain Trust now for over 12 years. She's one of the top communications experts on the planet, probably in the galaxy. She's the founder of and CEO of TLC, that's Talk, Listen, Communicate. She's the author of Talk is Not Cheap, and more importantly for me, she's our good friend, Beverly Inman-Ebel. Welcome back.
Thank you, Jim. It's great to be back.
It's always a pleasure to have you back. You know, I was telling the audience before you got here that you know, we spend a lot of time on the show talking about the fundamentals, talking about blocking and tackling, X's and O's, you know, the main, you know, buy low and sell high, you know, counting our pennies, things like that. But there's more to running a business than that. There's the you know, the softer side, the softer disciplines that you have to pay attention to, mostly in the area of the way we connect with other people. And that's one of the things that you always help us with so well, Beverly, and we appreciate that. Something you've been working on lately is what you call doing things that count. What do you mean by that?
Well, doing things that matter. With all that's going on with our government and how they're, you know, not being accountable, showing their fiduciary responsibility, it makes me think of the word, well, as business owners, you know, we've got to make things count. We've got to do things that will sustain our businesses that matter. And so I started thinking, well, what are, you know, some of those things that we need to do? One thing that most of us tend to drop off the radar when the economy is tight is advertising. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a lot of ways you can advertise, but
when you say advertising, you're not using that as a term to include marketing. Are you specifically mean just advertising?
I specifically mean advertising.
Okay, all right.
Throwing those seeds out there.
Getting a call to action somehow.
Right, getting the seeds out there and to a targeted audience. I mean, we've got to be smart in this economy about the type of advertising that we're using, but the theory to just, you know, stay in your brick and mortar and hope that people will pass by, you know, and see you is crazy. So we can advertise electronically, we can advertise to the radio, television, mailings, but we've got to do something to remind people that we're out here. I've been in business for 30 years, and it's amazing when I'll do some type of advertising, someone will call me and say, you know, I've been meaning to call you for the last 5 years. Wow. Mm-hmm. You know, so that's something that counts. PR is something else that really matters. PR, it can be, and that can be free, but it's getting out there, networking.
And when you say doing something that matters, you mean, are you talking about something that's contributing? Are you talking about doing advertising that matters, or doing things that matter that contributes to your advertising?
Both.
Okay.
I am talking about doing things that are going to count, add up to sustained or increased business, and collectively doing those is going to bring in more business, take away some of the stress that so many small business owners are feeling right now.
Give us an example.
An example of doing that. One thing that most of us don't like doing is picking up the 10,000-pound phone, making some cold calls, and yet that's something that counts. That's something that matters. Doing it first thing in the morning, just getting it done counts.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, there's that 1 in 20 chance where you actually connect with someone and you establish a relationship or you begin that journey. And then you're on this high. That not only...
Beverly, when I was just as you were talking about that, when I started my business, I mean literally the morning I started my small business back in '89. I remember. I got laid off that morning. I got fired. I basically got fired at 8:35 that morning. Before lunch, I had started my new consulting business, and I went out and I just literally drove to people that I had a relationship with in the past, but had not had for a long time. They hadn't been around me in 10 years almost.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I went to their offices, and I just said, hey, it's me again, and this is what I'm doing now. And you know what? Before the end of the day, my brand new, spanking new business, it wasn't only not, the ink wasn't only still wet, the ink hadn't even been put down yet.
Right.
But by the end of the day, I had customers, and all I did was go say, hi, I'm Jim. How do you like me so far?
And so that's stuff you can count. I mean, by the end of the day, how many people had you called?
I made about 3 or 4 calls, and I was doing business by the end of the day, and I needed to do that. I was in my own depression at that moment.
Right.
I wasn't in a recession.
Right.
I was in a depression.
I understand. So, but getting out to events and meeting people, sometimes if you're an established business person, them just seeing you, it's kind of a reminder of, oh, yeah, I know someone who, it reminds them. A newsletter, that is something that is so easy to do. There's software programs now. It's amazing. You can look like a genius in no time at all.
Mm-hmm.
There's even spell check and grammar check and pretty pictures, and it's a way to keep people in your mind. Okay, so even if you're small, as in solo, there's a way to look bigger, and those things do matter. Those things count. And then, of course, service. Whether you sell a product or a service is a huge key. What are you providing your customers that they really want, and do you know what they really want?
Mm-hmm.
What's one step?
That's a big deal right there, those expectations. Can we talk about that in the next segment?
Yeah.
Customer expectations. This is huge, folks. I'm telling you, it's bigger. I know it's a simple term, customer expectations, but folks, this may be the most important thing for you to focus on right now. Beverly Inman-Ebel is our guest. TalkListen.com, is that right, Beverly?
Yes, that's it.
TalkListen.com is her website. She's our good friend. We'll be right back. 20 after. I'm Jim Blasingame.
Insperity presents the Small Business Advocate Show with Jim Blasingame, brought to you by FedEx, CareerBuilder.com, and Palo Alto Software. This is a copyrighted production of Small Business Network, Inc., intended for the private use of our audience. Except as otherwise provided by copyright law, all other copying, redistribution, or publication without prior written consent is prohibited. All rights reserved. Prohibited. All rights reserved. Prohibited. All rights